Hey, greetings everybody. You're listening to We Own This Town Music, the podcast for showcasing new and notable music from Nashville and surrounding areas. I'm your host, Michael Eads, and this is volume 245. This show is part of We Own This Town, a podcast network focused on entertainment and documentary content brought to you by Nashvillians. Look us up at weownthistown.net and follow us at We Own This Town on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to get updates on all the latest episodes from every show across the network. We've got a mailing list on our site, and you'll get a weekly reminder about all of our releases if you sign that. Our motto around these parts is, if we can grow this thing, we can keep doing it. Subscribing is a pretty basic ask, but it truly helps. So please, subscribe. All right, so this week on the show, as you may have gleaned from the episode title, we sit down with songwriter and composer Lydia Luce. Her new album, Dark River, was released back in February and has garnered an absurd amount of press, from NPR to Forbes to, I guess now, We Own This Town. It's a beautiful record that finds a balance between the vulnerable and the empowered, and sometimes both. It's also laden with strings, a noteworthy attribute for any record, but especially so when it comes to Luce, as she is the founding member of Lockeland Strings. I won't give away too much of what we talk about, but if you aren't familiar with the Lockeland Strings community gathering, click through in the episode description for their social media and mark your calendar for May 1st at the Basement East for a really special upcoming performance. She's made a very unique thing, and Nashville is much better off for it. We talk about her history, her songwriting, and how she manages to keep evolving. Coming from a classical music background, to making folk and bluegrass music, to making indie and rock-inspired songs, to making an ambient EP, which is coming soon, is not a journey that most folks have. So let's just dive in. First up, let's hear the title track from Dark River, and then we'll get to the interview.
There are those in your life who will see you as a light with an ever-glowing flame to share. They put me on a pedestal, so I gave them everything. But now I'm waking slowly with that empty feeling. Grow against the heavy winds and burn your own fire. I go down to the dark river, they can't see me there. I'm gonna drink till my belly's full. I pour it out when they need my help. I pour it out. But please, won't you save some for me? I hunger for affection. After pushing you away, I tend to give a little more when I am broken. I'm filling up a void with a wall of crowd and noise, when I know I should be still and quiet. Go against the heavy winds and burn your own fire. I go down to the dark
right. Well, you just heard Lydia Luce. Luce? God, did I say it wrong already?
No, you nailed it.
Nailed it. All right. Well, we're joined by Lydia Luce, and we just heard from Dark River, track off of Dark River, and we're going to talk all about your history. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is really exciting.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I want to just dive right into it and talk about this record because I think it's kind of different for you based on the previous records that I've heard from you. I went back into your Spotify and listened to your discography and kind of tried to frame what it is about this record that's very different. And I think there's a lot more rock vibes to it. Is that inaccurate?
No, that's absolutely accurate.
Okay, well, can you just kind of tell me how you made this record? What brought this about? We'll get into your general history, but I really want to frame that song we just heard and just the record in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely way more rocky than my other stuff. I feel like I've just been evolving since the first EP. Like the first EP I put out was 5 songs recorded in my friend's house, and I was just like figuring out the songwriting thing, and that was very like singer-songwriter, maybe even like folky and a little bluegrass, not bluegrass, but more like Americana vibes.
And yeah, those aren't bad words.
No, they're all great. Everything's awesome. And then I think the record Azalea was like transitioning from that into then the folk and like still Americana, a little bit of rock, but we weren't quite there yet. And now we're there. So fun.
I saw this amazing write-up in Forbes on your record and on you, and it does talk a lot about the sort of folk and Americana kind of history that your music has. And it's so funny to come into this not knowing any of that and just listen to the record first, this new record first. Like, really, this came from kind of grew out of folk and Americana. It doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think as artists, like we can just kind of keep evolving and changing our sounds, and there's no rules. Like I don't like the idea of being put in a genre box anyways. And so I like some of my favorite artists are just each record is like a different genre, or they're just like spiraling out into whatever is organic and natural to their creative flow and evolution.
Yeah, isn't that super scary though? Because you know, if you've done an Americana record with success, you're like, okay, I know what to do with an Americana record. I can keep building on that. But if you're genre shifting, it's like, oh, I'm in a new pool now. Is that scary?
Oh. I was a little afraid of it, and I had a lot of conversations with my team about it, just in that I wanted to kind of move into like the more rock, like indie kind of world, because I just felt myself going there. And so there was a lot of conversations about trying to move the needle in that direction, but naturally, and worrying that people might have pigeonholed me into a category. And it was more that it was like, I'm not going to change who I am for you, but I hope you still like this next thing.
Sure.
Because I think if we create with like I'm creating for you or this audience or that audience, it doesn't come off authentically anyway. So
totally.
The conversation was just, this is my goal, that people get the genre, get the direction I'm going in, and hopefully like it. And, you know,
I'm sure they will. Yeah. I mean, your press on this has been phenomenal. You've been written up some great accolades all over the place. Well-deserved, I should say. Well-deserved. It's a really wonderful record. I think you talking about changing genres makes me think of the Becca Mancari record and how that seemed like a huge shift for them to go from kind of more Americana style to like almost full-on pop, you know, like pretty big shift, but it does feel more authentic. I think that's really an excellent point from you. I think also we can't talk about any music you make without talking about strings. I think that's a pretty integral part here, and that sort of leads into your general history. So I think for the listener out there, they should know the full discography of your works laden with strings. And there's good reason for that, because that's sort of your origin story in a way.
Yes.
So I wondered if you could speak a little to that,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My mother was a classical conductor, organist, like women's choir. She did women's choirs, like pianist, all just musician, classical musician. So my brother and I grew up playing music in her world, and she kind of, with great influence, presented us with the, not really option, but direction of music. And it was really rigorous. Like, we grew up in a very intense, like, classical family. And so we played in her orchestras. I went to a conservatory for my first college. We practiced since we were like 6 and 7. We practiced with kitchen timers every day.
Whew.
30 minutes, an hour, like piano, violin, viola, like my brother plays cello. And yeah, we just kind of did that. And I did that with under her guise, but then like I really fell in love with classical music. When I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be a professional classical violinist, and then switched to viola and kept just going down that line until I was in the conservatory and just practicing my butt off. And then I played this one concert, and I'd practiced like so much to learn this. It was the Walton Viola Concerto, performed it. And there was just like this, like, I don't know, it just dropped off for me. Like, I've done all this work and I played the show, and then I feel nothing. Like, I just felt like, oh God, I'm gonna have to do that all again. Another like hard thing. And then have like just all the anxiety of performing it perfectly. And I just wasn't in love with it. So I started, I kind of just stumbled into songwriting because I listened to a lot of songwriters, and like Damien Rice and like Fleetwood Mac. I grew up with Fleetwood Mac and Peter, Paul and Mary and all those.
Yeah. How does having a classical background tint the way you listen to contemporary music and songwriting in general? Like, could you listen to a Fleetwood Mac song and automatically kind of bank it into some other classical kind of categorization? No,
my mom always says this about music. She always says she can't listen to music without analyzing it. And I don't have that problem. I can totally just absorb it. And I do with a little more with lyrics now that I'm a songwriter, though. I'm like, dang, that's good. Or, man, I wish I wrote that first. Or just like, just really aware of a well-written lyric. And more so actually for me than like, oh my gosh, why did they go to this chord? Or and I also am very aware of the arrangements, because I find I'm drawn definitely to like more the orchestral sounds and like instruments, like interesting instruments. Like when somebody throws a clarinet in something, I'm like, that's cool. So my ear goes to those things, maybe because of the classical background or just because the clarinet's really cool.
Clarinet is fantastic, particularly in like in an Americana or rock context. It's very surprising.
It is very surprising, and that's why I love it. And also French horn, like we've put a lot of French horn in things.
Love like a French horn.
The last 2 records, yeah. I
like a flute every once in a while. It's very shocking to hear a flute in a rock song, but it works occasionally.
Toll did it first. Maybe not, but
popularized it for sure.
He popularized it.
Yeah. So you're in school. I think I read that you spent some time in California for a while, and you've played for like an exhaustively impressive number of people in terms of like the strings that you've played for. I believe Dolly Parton and Eminem are on the list. I don't know that you can put things higher than that. That's pretty phenomenal. What a strange coupling.
Oh, yes.
But what brought you to Nashville from all that? Was it a desire to be a songwriter? Was it just knowing that that's existed in full in this area?
Yeah, I think the music that I was kind of writing, the genres that I was writing in and interested in kind of tapping into were more predominantly in Nashville than I was finding in LA. And I got my master's degree at UCLA in the viola. And so I was there and I was doing some session work, but then halfway through that, I really wanted to pursue the songwriting thing while maintaining my career in viola, and like, because I'm making money doing that and not songwriting at the time. So
Sure.
still doing that. But I stumbled into a great Americana scene in LA, but thought that I just felt like I'd visited and lived here in the summers in between for a few months. And I felt that it would benefit me more to be here where it's just happening all around me instead of this one little niche pocket of LA.
Mm-hmm.
But I go back to LA a lot still. And I think there's just, there's great music everywhere.
Oh yeah. LA is awesome. LA is a great place. Nashville is a great place. They're just different great places.
People live in like tiny towns around the country that make amazing music. And that's also, this is like a rabbit trail, but that's also the interesting and amazing thing about remote recording. Like you can live wherever and you don't have to be in the music scene or in the music city to be an incredible musician. Like you can go live in Idaho if you want to.
It's true. Nothing wrong with Idaho. There's good stuff there too, I'm sure. Yeah. So do you find yourself doing that often? Like, do you do a lot of remote collaboration and songwriting remotely?
No, I was just saying that. No, I have been this year, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. I've like for a good amount of time this year, I've exclusively been remote recording, and this is my studio space. Like, and I'm grateful for that because there was no session work because nobody was going to studios. Now I do more session work, but everyone wears masks and stuff. But I'm still doing remote recording. And actually, since COVID, I hadn't thought to do it before. And now I'm like, oh, I can record in my house and not leave and work with people in LA so I've been getting more work remotely. And this past month we had an epic snowstorm and I took the time to make an ambient music EP in my studio just by myself, which will be dropping in 2 weeks.
What? That's exciting.
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm a big fan of the remote recording thing now, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to say anything positive about COVID, but sometimes there's like a weird, tiny silver lining to a thing. Yeah. I mean, it was terrible. We all agree. It's awful. Let's get vaccinated. Let's get out of this. Let's go back to how we were.
Amen.
But hey, remote recording, pretty good.
Yeah. Great. And I also feel that it can save money making music.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I think, you said it already, but like just the availability of people who are so talented not being in the same city is not a blocker. Like you can play on an incredible record now, even if you're 2,000 miles away. It's totally doable. I think that's really exciting.
So exciting. It's like the technology freaks me out, but then there's cool stuff like that where you're like, how amazing. It's like time traveling. If people would have heard that we could do this back in the day, they would have thought that's crazy.
Yeah, impossible. That's a future lie. No way.
Yeah, future lie.
So you've come to Nashville. You're embedding yourself in the scene, which, I'm a non-musician. I don't know what it's like to even find songwriting partners. I don't know if that's a difficulty or if, the time you had spent here before kind of like yielded, okay, I know this person. I can go talk with them. But you did something very unique in that you started this whole, Lockeland Strings is what I'm getting to. And I would love to hear you describe it in your own words. Like, what is Lockeland Strings? Because for people that aren't familiar with it, it is fascinating. It's a wonderful thing. It just literally, I've lived in Nashville my whole life. This has not existed before.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm proud of it. And it's one of the things I've missed the most this past year because it started as a house show. When I moved here from LA, I lived in apartments for years because I lived in Boston and DC and then LA. And when I moved here, I moved into a house and I really wanted to do house shows. And so it started as this tiny little house show and it was called Lockeland Sings. And it was just songwriters that I was meeting, like, come play at my house, a couple songs, we'll have a party. And it was kind of a party. We served food. I made beans and rice with some friends. And like, it really started as like a organic, just a community thing. And then I started meeting more people, and Jordan Lenning, who I co-produced this last record with, and he produced the record prior to that. He's an amazing composer. And we got to talking about like my background in classical music and how he wished that he had a reason to compose. And so Lockeland Strings had been kind of a thing for maybe 3 years, and it had already gotten a really big following. And we'd been doing some like artists with string quartets backing them, which is already so cool. And just to see and be in an intimate space where your favorite artist is playing with a string quartet, and it's super cheap to go. Like, I'm charged like $8, maybe $5. At some point it was donation, like, if you can. And so then Jordan and I started talking about doing a composer salon where we talked to a handful of people that were either interested in composing, had dabbled in it and wanted to do it, or already were composing. And so we curated this night, and it just really organically turned into it was like such a hit, and people were so fascinated by that. And what my intentions are, and have been since it's been evolving, is to create a space where people can see string music, see contemporary music without having to be a member of the symphony and pay $150 to go to a concert. No offense to this. That's a great thing too. And I love going to the symphony, but this creates more of a community aspect, community vibe. We work with different nonprofits. We bring in nonprofits to literally talk to the community, the crowd, and explain to them in person what they do for our community, meet each other, donate. Like, it's just really awesome. And I'm just so grateful for it and proud of what it's become. And I actually just found out this week that we were supposed to play with the Nashville Ballet last fall, but of course COVID. And so that's going to happen now this fall, coming up in November.
Wow.
So it's just like growing so quickly. And like, yeah, like you said, there was nothing like it. I think when, I don't know, it's become so popular because people wanted it. People needed it. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, I needed it.
Big fan of Jordan Lenning. We've had him on the show before. We've been a big fan of his work for as long as he's from when he came back from college and, set up shop back in Nashville. I mean, he's an incredible talent for sure. But I know a lot of other people that are involved. Like Larissa Maestro is a friend, and the work that she does with all of the string, composition work that she does, it didn't seem like there was really an outlet for it at all. Like, where does someone like Jordan or Larissa go to practice, to show off this stuff? And I think that was so true for so many people in Nashville, and you created a conduit for it. It's remarkable. So I hope that we can get back to doing it regularly, because I'd love to attend and just see what it's all about. I've seen photos online, and it looks amazing.
It is amazing. And speaking of the amazing Larissa Maestro, we are playing her piece at the Basement East. We're doing a Lockeland Strings show at the Basement East at 6 p.m. on May 1st.
Oh, cool.
And just because a lot of people will be vaccinated by then, which is so crazy to think about. But it's like, I don't know, like so many people are vaccinated or half vaccinated, and I'm getting my second shot tomorrow. So
congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. So we're going to do that. And it's weird. It's weird to like, do it, but we got to, kind of do it, right?
Yeah,
we have to kind of start going back into the world.
Yeah. That's a pretty beautiful way to get back to, the world before. It's like a string performance. Like that's a very emotionally sweeping thing to experience. So.
And I've heard her piece and actually played it, and it's so like I just got goosebumps thinking about it. But it's so beautiful. It's a reflection about the tornado. And she's one of my favorite composers in town. And honestly, part of the reason why Lockeland Strings exists is like selfishly because I want to play new music all the time. Like,
yeah,
it's super fun. I was a part of a little bit of a part of the contemporary music LA scene, and it's just it's so cool to me to like be a part of that kind of scene where it's like there are no rules in creating music, but with contemporary and instrumental music, it seems even more open and borderless because there's no words. It's super interpretive. There are no rules. Like people just go all out, and
totally.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm curious how you take that mindset that there are no rules and you apply that to your record, which is, as we started with this, is laden with strings. So do you let that lead you? Like, are the strings supplemental to the songwriting, or are the strings the foundation? I'm curious, because that's such a big part of you, that how is that driving the songwriting aspect of it?
The strings are a yummy layer. I don't start with like a string idea. I start with the song, and often like when I'm writing the song or once it's made, I'm like, yes, obviously strings, but honestly, we do that on almost all of the songs.
Sure.
Because strings are so versatile, and really you can do so much with them and put them on everything. But it's usually an after idea, and the song is a kind of complete entity, and the strings they either work together or it's a added bonus layer.
Yeah. Maybe in Time is probably what's among my favorites on the record that really showcase that in a beautiful way for me. They're all good.
Thanks, man. I like Maybe in Time too.
Yeah. I also want to call out the performance you did at the Parthenon as part of the Echo series. What a place to perform music with strings. I mean, just unbelievable. I'll link it in the episode description for anyone that hasn't watched it yet. But performing at the Parthenon in general is kind of a bonkers offering.
Gift.
Yeah.
Lockeland Strings got to do the first ever Echo thing in person. I think it was in 2018, and it was unreal. It was so cool. Like the reverb in that room is like 6 seconds delay, and so you're just like in a ocean of sound. Like I got to bring my viola, just me. When we were checking out the space, when we were thinking about doing that first Lockeland String show, and just play by myself. And it's so weird because the reverb's so intense. You're like, what? Where'd that come from? I played that 6 seconds ago.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really appreciate you talking to us. I'm going to probably play another song from the record on the way out here. And now we have an ambient album to look forward to as well, and a performance at the Basement East. Would you say May 1st for that?
May 1st. Yep.
We'll put it on the calendar for sure.
Yay.
Yeah, and will once again endorse that everyone check out this record. It's a really beautiful thing. Very much.
Thank you so much.
So thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks again to Lydia for chatting with us. Let's hear 2 more tracks from the record as we wrap up this episode.
I haven't wished it to be true for quite some time. I often sleep without waking in the night, but occasionally you cross my mind. Sing hallelujah in the morning when I rise, and keep it with me every moment passing by. Then occasionally you cross free of you for more than a little while. Drop back the curtains and I'll welcome in the light. I'll carry on day after day, go on believing I am doing fine. Then suddenly you'll cross my mind. Occasionally you'll cross my mind. Thought I saw your figure in the shadow of a prayer, reaching out to touch what wasn't there. Bathed in holy water, before I spoke your name. But doesn't it feel useless to try and pass the blame? So show me what you do, 'cause I wanna feel it too. Try and change my mind, maybe in time. That's why I left the windows open to let in the divine. And maybe I'm just looking for the spirit of the night. So show me what you do, 'cause I wanna feel it too. Try and change my mind, maybe in time, maybe in time. 'Cause I read it like a fiction, I wrote it off as a fairy tale. Is it only wishing, or are you really there? Are you really So show me what you do, 'cause I wanna feel it too. Try and change my mind, maybe in time.
All right, that was two more tracks from Lydia Luce's latest record, Dark River. That was Occasionally and Maybe in Time. You can find that record linked in the episode description or streaming anywhere you stream music. And that's our show. We'll be following up this episode with a more standard music-filled episode, but we just wanted to share this Luce interview ASAP so you knew about the Basement performance on May 1st and the upcoming ambient EP, and frankly, about Dark River. It's something you should be listening to. Find us at We Own This Town on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, where you'll get updates about all the new episodes from all our We Own This Town shows. Visit our site, weownthistown.net, join that mailing list, find more information about all our podcasts, find music reviews and premieres. I say it at the top, and I'll say it again at the bottom. If we can keep growing this, we can keep doing this. Again, I acknowledge that asking you to subscribe is really basic, but it really does help. It actually helps a lot. So please do that, and email me if you want, michael@weownthistown.net. I can be reached there. Many thanks to Upright T-Rex Music for the music playing underneath me right now. Find them at uprighttrexmusic.com. Take care. Keep wearing your mask. Get yourself a vaccine appointment. You can do that now, and you 100% absolutely should. Thank you, and I'll talk at you real soon. Bye.